Hey, who do I have in here? Who's in here so far? Put your name in the chat. Any questions? Any venting? Sorry, I'm a little sweaty. I just got a pre-exam workout in. Taylor, hi. Kevin, hi. Hey, Kevin, remember for ECA, man, I hope my email came across clear. Get as many points as you possibly can because as a teacher, I don't know yet. I have no idea let's say you get a 3 on the DBQ, like what that's going to translate to in terms of an actual score. Okay. So guys, right now it's okay to be nervous. It's okay to be scared. The thing is right now, I want you to remember all those months ago when we first reviewed the DBQ, right? One of those things, this is me copying from Heimler. You're dumber than you think you are on exam day. Remember that. And you're dumber. Hey, Jen Milza, you're dumber because, and not really dumber, but you know what I mean. I think it's a good point. Your nerves are high. You're a little anxious. This is the first time you've ever done anything like this. And you guys really have a first time because this is an unprecedented situation that we're in. Deep breaths, stay hydrated, make sure you have some food. Make sure, guys, please, I cannot stress this enough because you're doing it from the comfort of your own home. Please make sure you limit distractions. Your cell phones should be, you should not be talking to anybody, texting anybody. Do not be silly about this, okay? Please tell your parents, please tell your siblings. You need roughly an hour just of quiet and focus for this exam, okay? Try not to be too hysterical in the text because this stuff, tends to spread. Again, it's okay to be nervous. It's okay to even be a little frightened or scared. Remember, guys, I was in that DBQ document all day yesterday. Emily, if access there, that was a really great thing to see all the rubric points and stuff like that. Remember, there's no particular thing that you need in each paragraph. It's all about your introduction and how your essay is going to look, right? But generally in the body paragraphs, you're going to be talking your evidence. You're going to describe a document, use it to back up your thesis. You might source that document in a paragraph, stuff like that. So just be cautious there. Okay. Whatever you guys want, just type it in the chat and I'll get to it. Taylor, can I go over the Industrial Revolution? You can't remember it at all. Starts 1750, starts in England. Essentially, Industrial Revolution is just humans utilizing machines to replace human labor, right? It starts off with the textile industry, moves on to transportation, communication, etc. It's essentially getting, it's like technology on steroids, if you want to think about it like that, right? Human beings become more efficient at producing goods, okay, like textiles. So again, starts roughly 1750 in Great Britain, kind of spreads out to the rest of Europe, eventually spreads to the United States. And essentially, this is what kind of kickstarts a new era of imperialism as well, because if you're going to be industrializing, right, if you're making goods a lot quicker, think about that real quick. You're going to have a lot more goods on hand. You're going to need to sell to more people. You're going to need to take in a lot more resources and materials. That's where our discussion on markets and materials came in last night, okay? Again, M&Ms, markets and materials, the two driving forces for imperialism, okay? Everybody right now, I want you guys to understand the difference between the first wave of European-like discovery, right? The stuff that started in the 1400s, really 1300s, culminated kind of with Columbus and Vasco da Gama, Columbus discovering the New World, da Gama reaching India, right? That's kind of the first wave of Europe going out into the world, the age of discovery, trying to find trade routes, trying to get to different natural resources and whatnot, right? That all takes place in the 14, 15, 1600s. After the Industrial Revolution occurs, 1750, you've got kind of this like magnified, like this new wave, second wave of like imperialism, right? That kind of sweeps the world. And it's primarily Western Europe, the United States, and then industrial Japan as well. Okay. Taylor, what else can I offer in terms of Industrial Revolution? That's kind of just a general overview. I just changed my third cup of coffee, and one sip I gotta say, wait for the exam. Geez, I hope you're being smart about that, Aiden. You don't want to be too jittery. Hey, remember when you read the DBQ question, right? When you've got your question, look at the time period. They're going to give you a definitive time period. Try to find out what the subject is. Look for the HTS, the historical thinking skill, okay? All that stuff. You're wired. I hope that means that, I hope that's a positive wire. Again, anybody that has content questions, please let me know now. You can watch Heimler's videos, guys, but you could also get the answer right here, right now, whatever you want. Heimler might take you a little bit of searching to do, so just be cautious. Well, Alexis, I'm happy you slept till 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock. So hopefully that means you're well rested. The honestly really helped. I was just blanking on exactly what happened. Yeah, just basically humans mechanizing, right? Using machines, factories to do work. It's replacing the work of what typically was done by human hands or animal power. That's the other way I think you can think about this, Taylor. The Industrial Revolution is a revolution in terms of energy. Like before the Industrial Revolution, how do we get things done if we're human? Wind, water, animals, or ourselves, like human muscle power. Ooh, I didn't want to scare you guys there. Sorry. After that, it's machines and alternative sources of fuel. The first Industrial Revolution, namely coal. Okay, so that's another way to think about it, like an energy revolution as well. Okay. I'm glad that helped, though, Taylor. Yo, who's Moleman Games? Please tell me your name right now, or I'm just going to kick you out, because I don't want you saying that about Nate. Even if you're joking, now's not the time for negativity. We've got to stay positive here, okay? Was the European Enlightenment a cause for industrialization to happen? I don't think so. Heimler was like a little unsure about that last night. I did not really like his response. The Enlightenment really begins, like the height of the Enlightenment is kind of the same time as the industrialization is kind of going on, right? If not very, very close. So when you think the Enlightenment, I want you to think like, ideological revolution. Human beings are now thinking differently about politics and society. Industrialization really having to do with, kind of economic changes. Industrialization certainly affects all facets of, like, all the AP themes, environment, families, etc. But I would not really look at the Enlightenment as a cause for industrialization. In terms of causes for industrialization, like why did it happen in Great Britain? I think necessity is the mother of all invention, general need. You could look at some of the laws that were being passed in England at the time, privatizing, land, etc. There's an abundance of natural resources, particularly coal in Great Britain as well for different possible causes. Can I go over imperialism? Again, this was Maria Khan asked the question last night in the review. If you want to go on my YouTube channel and see that there, I gave a whole big explanation of it. But what do you need to know about imperialism, Tim? I mean, you could go to the presentation on European imperialism, and on the very first slide, I have a beautiful definition of it. But it's essentially one state, right, taking over in some way, seeking to control another state. Militarily, politically, economically, culturally, right, for the state's benefit, right? So the best example I have of who's the best imperial power in the 17 and 1800s? It's Great Britain, trying to establish colonies all around the world for their benefit. They're looking to gain control, right? Influence. They're looking to exploit everybody else for their benefit. If you haven't done so already, guys, again, that's why I put that practice DBQ on there. The practice one I have, that 5 documents, indigenous responses to state expansion. State expansion is imperialism. When one nation or one country seeks to expand itself in any way possible, that's imperialism. Okay. Now that DBQ was focused on how did the indigenous or non-imperialist groups react to that, right? And if you look at that, you're like, why did Great Britain want control of those indigenous places? Well, for markets and materials, M&Ms. Everything comes back to M&Ms in terms of imperialism and generally industrialization. So just remember that little acronym. You can write that down. You can use that on the exam. That's okay. All right. What other questions do we have? Remember right now, if you haven't done so already, I might, where is my copy? I might print this guy out. If you haven't done so already, I might print the AP World History kind of test guide. You got room right here to write your documents, write your document information. Okay, you've got a mini rubric right here, and then you've got a paragraph outline right here. This is going to be really, really helpful. Print this out, or if you don't have a printer, just draw it right now. Find it on Google Classroom. Johnny Walsh and I went over it last night in the review. Find it on Classroom and just draw your own. You don't need to print anything if you don't want to. Maybe some of you don't have a printer. You have that next to you. Good, Aiden. Just don't spill any coffee on it. Fantastic. What do we got, guys? What else? Good, Jess. Everybody should hopefully have that out. Absolutely. Might have that out. You can have the full rubric out. They're going to have one for you. Plus, you have that mini version. And honestly, I think by now you guys know what's expected if you want the DBQ. Okay? First paragraph. Somebody type this in for me real quick. First paragraph. What's the first thing, 3 to 4 sentences that you need in your first paragraph? I'll get to Brian's question in just a second, although that's not something I can answer. Yeah, the first thing you have is context, right? 3 to 4 sentences. And what is context? It's background information. Again, for those like Brian, like you're asking a question, how specific should I be with my thesis in context? Take a look at the sample I gave you yesterday. I gave a sample context. I even posted the AP World History master himself, Dan Gervasio. I posted his whole essay in that. Go check that thing out. It's a really good example. That's about the level of specificity I want. You know? Please be cautious with that. Yeah, context comes first. 3 to 4 sentences, right? And then what comes after the context? You should have a nice little segue from context to what? What's that next part? The thing that needs to directly answer the prompt, the thing that needs to be specific. Yes, it's your thesis. And that's it for the first paragraph. Context, and then your thesis. That's it. That thesis, hopefully it's in the format of although X, A, B, where X is your counter argument and A and B are your arguments, what you're going to argue. Oh, but Stevenson, how do I know what to argue? You've read the documents. You have to use the documents to craft an argument that answers the question. You know, it's all full circle, okay? You can have A, B, you can have A, B, C. I was going to say you could have A, B, C, D, but you only have 45 minutes to write, so how many arguments do you want? Okay? Remember, when it comes to your body paragraphs, right, you're going to want to group documents together. I don't want to see essays that are like, in document 1, blah, 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 new paragraph. In document 2, blah, 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 blah. Yo, they said the same thing or something similar. Put them together in the same paragraph. And then while you're writing about them, describing them and using them, throw in some sourcing in that same paragraph. Generally speaking, I don't want a separate paragraph for sourcing. You don't need it. Whatever docs you're going to source them right in the paragraph that you're talking about. It has a natural flow to it. I promise you. The best essays I've ever read all have that contained in the body paragraphs. Okay, so we've got context first, and then we've got thesis, and then we've got describing the documents and using the documents. And again, if there's anybody right now who's like a little unsure, I love this prompt, man. I seriously, your writing is gonna sound robotic, but if you're like, well, how do we describe a document? I love Heimler's prompts, right? Document 1 says blah 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 blah. Okay, but then how do we use it? How do we argue with it? Document 1 says blah, blah, blah. This shows that blah, blah, blah. Tying it back to your thesis. Boom, done. There's your evidence points. Come on now. Okay? And for all of you who are like outside evidence, where does it go? You have your outside evidence to support your thesis statement. So whatever paragraph you're making in whatever argument in, that's where that outside evidence is going to go. Okay, you get to choose that. Nobody tells you where the outside evidence comes in, right? For outside evidence, remember, it needs to be more than just a mention. It can be like, blah, 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 blah. This shows that. You need to do that same sentence again. You need to show how it proves your thesis or furthers your argument, okay? And then complexity. Hopefully you can get it with the counter argument. Honestly, with complexity, I had a lot of people who submitted a really good essay to me, and I graded it. And the last paragraph they had was their counter argument paragraph. And I was like, oh, cool, this is great. But all they said was like maybe 2 or 3 sentences like, oh, despite having some differences, there was also some similarities like this, period. And then that was it. You still have to use the documents to support that. You still have to find a way to use the documents to support a counter argument. Okay? That's why the complexity is so hard. It takes so much time. Okay? Remember, anybody who was on last night, what was my recommended breakdown for reading and writing? Do you guys remember? What was my recommended breakdown for reading and writing and planning? 10:35. I don't know if you guys just heard Brienne, but just flip the 5 and the 30. Yeah? How long is the whole exam? 45 minutes. No, you said 10. Oh, I thought you said 10:35, like 3 separate things. No, so 10 minutes of reading, fantastic. 5 minutes of planning, and then 30 minutes of writing. Okay? Anna Anderson. Can you use outside evidence to back up your counter argument? Yes, 100%. Absolutely. Absolutely. Good question, Anna. Anna, you've come up with some, it's funny sometimes the way you were in class. You've come up with some really, really good questions throughout the year. And that's just another example of one. That's fantastic. Yes, you can use outside evidence to back up the counter argument. Good job. Love that thinking there. Patrick Lane, about 10 minutes reading, 5 to 6. Look, that's exactly what I said. Love you, Patrick Lane. Fantastic. Miss you one day. All right. Hey, do you remember what we said about checking notes and maybe if you're struggling for outside evidence and you have like a decent amount of time, like what resources can you check to use that? What was my response last night? No, you're wrong. It was Quick Check and 7-Eleven. I made a joke and you all didn't laugh at me. Ha 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 ha. No, I'm kidding. You're right. It was my presentations. Go to the presentations. Go to the slideshows. And now, Daniel Lynn, do not go to Kahoot. That'll be so confusing. Like you have to go through all of that. That's crazy. And Kahoot doesn't give you a whole lot of information. You can go to the presentations, but here's the deal. Think strategy, right? You don't want to have to be like, oh, like it's, 30 minutes into the exam and you're like, oh, I can go to this read the question. Okay. I would have maybe a Google Classroom page pulled up, right? Read the question. And then whatever the question is, whatever the subject is, think about which presentation would that be in? And then go there. Okay. And then just have it up. And then get back to writing your DBQ. And if you're really struggling with the outside evidence, then you can check that presentation. Okay. That time? Okay. I'm going to go to the front porch. It's nap time. This would be a better view. You got my Crusades themed chess set up there. Take a look at that. Crusades theme chessbook, AP World History textbook. There's a shark jaw up there, and now there's plenty of. Oh, look at that! I don't want to flex on you guys or anything, but outstanding graduate scholar in history. Come on, you're in good hands. I promise you. Most of those books are about the Cold War. Sorry. Okay. Oh, little plants. Okay. It's not a weird flex, man. Academic flexing is the only type of flexing. Okay. House tour for sure. I'm on my little porch right now. This is my little porch. Sunny out. It's nice. There's the Stevenson mobile. Look at that beast. What a beast. Fantastic. Okay. My wife's going to hate me right now. I'm sitting on her porch cushions, these little chairs we have, and I am so sweaty. It's so bad. I just got done with a really intense workout. All right, let's get back to something serious. Taylor Kitzman says, can you please go over the Opium Revolt? I mostly get it, but I'm a bit confused about why it started and what the end result effects were. Great question. So in the early 1800s, Great Britain starts thinking to themselves, we have to stop pumping in so much gold and silver, precious metal, bullion, right, into Qing China, right? We love their trade goods. We love their silks. We love their teas. We love their porcelains, right? All really good trade goods from East Asia, China. But we don't want to keep giving them gold. So do we know of anything that we can trade instead? Oh, opium. Oh my goodness. I don't know, the most addictive drug of all time. So the British begin to grow their opium in their colony of India, really good environment for growing opium, and they begin shipping opium into China. Now, you guys know how traditional the Chinese are during this time. Confucianism, Neo-Confucianism. Think importance of family, respect, values, hard work, virtue. I'm sorry, but does opium addiction jive with any of those values? No, it does not. So this becomes a major systemic drug issue, drug problem, drug epidemic in China, and the Chinese want the British to stop importing and selling opium in Chinese ports. So essentially, there's like a governmental task force formed. There's a kind of a head minister, Lin Sishu, under the Qing emperor, who is tasked with going to docks and like burning opium, dumping opium, destroying opium. There's very strict laws against opium consumption and selling passed. And essentially, the British kind of take this as a threat. And in order to keep their kind of, the business going, they send in warships. They basically send in warships and wipe the floor with the Chinese in the first Opium Wars. Okay. The end result is a resounding victory for, who do you think? Who do you think? Oh, I just said wipe the floor. So it's the British. The British completely wiped the floor with the Qing Navy and Army. And can we pause for a second? Why were the British, who were greatly outnumbered, why are they so successful in their naval sort of conquest of Qing era China? Why are the British so successful? They're industrialized. Absolutely. I'm sorry. I was just trying to get an image for you guys. I believe I have this image on the. Love this image because it tells you everything you need in like one little painting. I think this image was on the presentation. Whoever stinkweed is, I mean, gunpowder was a valid answer. You didn't have to retract that. Okay, I'm just gonna. If you guys want to go to that real quick, it's just kind of a nice painting depicting the Chinese, kind of the older style Chinese junk ships sailing against the steam vessels of the British, the ironclad ships of the British, using gunpowder weapons. So yeah, it's a matter of industrialized country versus non-industrialized country. Now the result of this, right? The result of this, great answer, Taylor. The result of this is that Britain forces China to sign a bunch of what historians call the unequal treaties. It basically opens up China for Western influence, particularly from Great Britain. There's also this thing that's built into the treaties. It's called extraterritoriality. Essentially, the British merchants and individuals who are now living in China, they're not going to be subject to Chinese law. They're only going to be subject to English law. So if anybody like gets in trouble in China, Chinese laws are just not applicable to them. It's largely seen as one of the most nationally embarrassing things to ever happen to China. And I want you to think about this, right? Remember China's legacy for hundreds of years. Okay, thousands of years. What is the legacy of China in East Asia for, well, we'll just hundreds of years before the Opium Wars? What's that legacy? Who is China in the East? The dad of East Asia. I like that. I'm sitting cross-legged on my floor. I'm getting into my Zen zone. Kidding. Yeah, the big brother, right? They were the most powerful force. They were kind of the cultural center, right? They called themselves the Middle Kingdom, right? Like it was like to the Chinese, like we're the civilization. We bring civilization everywhere else. Nobody brings it to us. So Dan, yeah, one of the results is the self-strengthening movement, right? This idea of like, we're going to have to do this ourselves in order to combat the English threat here. The really the kind of the threat of all Western European nations, even the United States, right? China essentially. There's a couple really good images in those, European imperialism presentation pages where I don't know if you guys remember the one of like Africa as a cake or China as a pizza, right? There's a lot of popular political cartoons from the time depicting these non-European places as like food items with Europeans kind of around them with knives like carving them up. And I think that's kind of a beautiful visual representation of imperialism, right? Think like Scramble for Africa, and of course what we see going on in China right now. Now, one of the major results of the Opium Wars, Taylor, is that China is carved up into spheres of influence. Russia, France, Japan, the United States, Great Britain all get involved and kind of like go through some colonizing in East Asia, developing parts of China, building railroads, port cities. There's kind of a major influx of Europeans during this time. China becomes kind of a shell of its former self, and this is kind of outside our time frame, but ultimately this leads to the collapse of China. I'm sorry, the imperial dynasty of the Qing in 1911. That's out of our time frame. I wouldn't worry about that. But yeah, I said this last night. The 19th century is awful. It's awful for China. Not only do you have the Opium Wars, where China is being embarrassed by an external power who they used to think was inferior, but you also have the Taiping Rebellion, which is a peasant rebellion that takes place. And then you also later have the Boxer Rebellion, which is essentially like an anti-foreigner movement, violent resistance. That's a really good example of violent resistance of indigenous peoples, the Boxer Rebellion. Let me know if that helps, guys. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, you know what? When we talked about China this year, remember I used to talk about them as like the big brother in the East.
Oh, let's talk about this right now, though. Why is this so what's going on in this period that would make this relationship that China typically had with their other East Asian counterparts, what would make it so ironic? Where's the irony in all this? We mentioned this a little bit last night. If I get, how about a hint in terms of, um, what East Asian power is going to industrialize and very quickly become? Yes, exactly, Aiden. You took the words right out of my mouth. Aiden says, didn't Japan become more powerful than China after industrializing? 100%. Um, to the point where Imperial Japan really begins to take over lots of East Asia in the lots of the eastern part of China, the Chinese coastline, places like Manchuria, as well, to secure harbors and access to trade routes in the 19 teens and 1920s. It's just kind of an absolute turning upside down of the world as East Asia knew it after Japan industrializes. So like, I think that's such Japan is such a good example because it's like, oh, small indigenous power industrializes rapidly with the help of the West and then becomes imperial power. So like, you see this, like, what was the norm at the time? Industrialize and then imperialize because you need those markets and uh, materials. How come Africa didn't industrialize after it received goods from Europe in the triangular trade? I think you answer your own question. Africa was reliant on Europe to manufacture those goods. So it was kind of a matter of like, hey, we're getting these goods anyway. What need do we have to industrialize ourselves? I hope that makes sense, Dan. That's one. That's kind of one of the major reasons why that happens. Um, there's also, I don't like using the term Africa. Like, how come Africa's not a country, right? Africa's a continent. So to make such a wide sweeping generalization is like, why didn't Africa industrialize? Is kind of a little general. Okay, we're talking about Japan, the island nation, the country of Japan in that last example. Africa, continent. A little bit too general there. It's 12:16, my friends. Remember, what time do we have to sign into the exam? Yeah, 1:30. Okay, sorry. I was just checking my email. I wanted to make sure nobody had any other questions they were sending via email. Yeah, 1:30. And then your exam starts at 2. You've got your 45 minutes to write it, and then you have your 5 minutes to submit. Okay? Just follow the on-screen instructions. Guys, I've had the demo links and all that stuff posted for weeks and weeks and weeks on Google Classroom. Believe me, you are well prepared. I hope you all received the email I sent today. I meant every single word of it. Okay? I truly believe in every single one of you guys. I want you to think about this. The DBQ is the only thing we did this year in terms of exam prep. We looked at some multiple choice questions and we looked at the SAQ in the beginning of the year, but we've been doing this DBQ now for quite a while. So hopefully you guys feel confident while you're writing, and just do your best. That's it. Just do your best. That's all we can ever hope for. What other questions? Just checking. We have to put our code at the top of the doc, followed by our initials, then the actual DBQ. Yeah, you're going to want to put your initials. So in your case, AK, and then your code, and then you'll write the actual DBQ. Other questions on content, questions on DBQ. Well, Aiden, I think for everybody who realizes that, at the end of the day, this is just another exam. It's one of many that you'll take in your life. Um, I think it's, looking back now, there are things in life that you should be nervous for. Like, nervous for. This is not one of them. This is literally just an exam. Random question, but any advice for not completely panicking when we are open the test, because I'm low-key already panicking? Breathe. Be confident in yourself, Again, like I just said, it's just an exam, guys. Doesn't define who you are. I know everybody wants to do well. If you've put in the work, this is, I want you guys, everybody who's in this live chat right now to think about this. Like, the next time that you think of slacking on homework or classwork, or like not following the instructions of a class where there's like a big exam, like if you've done your due diligence the entire time, it makes moments like this so much easier to manage, right? I don't care if you're an athlete or you're in some class like this. The better prepared you are yourself, physically, mentally, the more confident you're going to be when it comes to test day or game day. So I know that's a little late right now, but like in the future, don't do that to yourself. The more prepared you are, the easier it'll be come exam day to just kind of knock those nerves to the side. Okay? I might even just go for a walk. It's 12:20 right now. You don't have to be at your computer for another hour. Get outside, get some fresh air, take a break from the computer. Seriously, I mean that. Take some deep breaths, listen to a favorite song, get your mind right. I don't care if you walk away, sign off on the live chat right now, okay? And the reason why I'm confident right now is because I've shared all my presentations with you. I've posted all those resources. I know that my job is done. That's why I can sit here. And I was a little nervous for you guys when I woke up this morning, but I worked out, wrote that email to you guys and said, these kids got it, So seriously, right now, it's 12:21. You have an hour. Go do something that makes you happy. Bake, cook, listen to some favorite music, go for a run, go for a walk, do whatever it is. I'm going to go vibe outside. Yeah, absolutely, Nate. Best of luck to you, buddy. We're going to have a live session afterwards too. I'll post that link about an hour after the exam. Okay. Alyssa, that's normal. That's just test day jitters, 100%. It happens every year. But Nate, enjoy your time outside, buddy. Get your mind right. Okay. Yeah. I feel like I have no idea what I'm doing, but yesterday I was completely fine. Happens. Just smile. Just an exam. You do the best you can, and that's it. Do the best you can on this modified DBQ. Does anybody have anything that calms them down? Can you share? I'm trying to think of what it would be for me. Like if I'm really nervous about something, what I try to do beforehand to like normalize the situation. I think it's good, Emily. I think it's a really good thing. I've said this before in my live chats. I'm super happy that the rubric is what it is, the 10 points. The rubric's easier. And I mean, imagine if you took the original exam. Do you guys remember how long that original exam was? 3 hours and 15 minutes. Sing in the back gym. having to be dead silent. You get to take this from your home. It's only one modified DBQ. There's 5 documents. I know it's kind of rough with the whole COVID pandemic in the background, but I think this is much easier. Yeah, Tim, this is a little bit out of the time frame, but are you guys familiar with Gavrilo Princip? He was a Serbian nationalist who shot the Archduke Franz Ferdinand. That jump-started World War I. And a lot of historians say that Franz Ferdinand's driver ended up making a wrong turn while going through Sarajevo, the city where he was assassinated. I've actually heard that when Franz Ferdinand found out that his driver made a wrong turn, he said, "Shoot." Shoot. You made a wrong turn. He gets shot by Gavrilo Princip. Come on. That's good, right? That's got to be good. Somebody's laughing. Oh my God. Enough with this bruh stuff. BRUH. Ugh. Okay. Yo mama's so classless, she could be a Marxist utopia. Your mama's so classless, she could be a Marxist utopia. Marx, there shouldn't be any classes. No private property. Revolting against capitalism? Anybody? Roasted. Oh, Ethan Martins. Hello. Thank you for chuckling. I really appreciate it. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. How did the Vikings send secret messages? They used Norse code. Boom. What's purple and about 5,000 miles long? The Great Wall of China. Little kid comes home from school. He's like really upset. His parents ask him what's the matter. His parents ask him what the matter. I can't talk right now. His parents ask him what's wrong, and he goes, "I'm not doing well in history class." And his parents go, "Well, why not?" And the kid responds, "I don't know. The teacher keeps asking about things that happened before I was born." Yeah. Ugh. What do Alexander the Great and Kermit the Frog have in common? Their middle name. Alexander the Great, Kermit the Frog. Alexander the Great, Kermit the Frog. Come on. How was the Roman Empire cut in half? With a pair of Caesars Caesars. Caesars. Get it? Of all the jokes, Emily Hager, that one was solid. Are you kidding me? Jess, I'm going to be totally honest with you. I am looking them up right now as we speak. I can't lie. I don't just have these circulating up here. Okay, Alyssa, thank you. I already told everybody that. God, vicious. Vicious. Block 4B was always vicious. Block 4B was always my most vicious class. We could hear the typing. Why was World War I so quick? Because they were Russian. Why was World War II so slow? Because they were Stalin. Neither of which are going to be on your DBQ because they're after 1900. But the difference between Heimler and I is that I'm all off the cuff, unedited. You're getting unfiltered content here. No guide, no fancy editing, just me. All right, guys, what else do we have? So, yeah, any questions? Things are good. Mine? My quarantine? Fantastic. Working out every day. I think I was able to get everything I needed to you guys. Organize my shed. Got caught up on a lot of reading. Didn't get the coronavirus yet. That's cool. That's good. Just tell your brother I said hello, by the way. Emily, hopefully you can do the same. Tim Hager, all-time legend. I'm going to create a wall of legends, AP World History legends, dating back to when I first started teaching the class in 2013. Tim the Legend Hager. Traveled to Peru with Tim. That's a bond we'll always have, Tim. I think I saved you from being hit by a car no less than 3 times. Tom. Sorry, Val. Thought you were. I didn't think you were in the chat. I don't have a list that I'm looking at. I know. You know what? I'm gonna post a picture on class. So you guys, in recent years, before everybody has gone into the back gym, I think I told you this. I print out a picture of somebody. It doesn't even have to be an historical figure, and we all slap it before you go in to take the exam. And then I shake your hand. Patrick and Kaylin, you know what I want to do right now, Gull family. You know what I want to do, but I can't because my child is sleeping and I don't want to wake her up. It's taking everything in my soul, my being, to not make the seagull noise right now. That's me trying to make the seagull noise quiet. There you go, Aiden. Thank you. Simi, tell Jazzy I said hi. I just said Jazzy. I never called her that in person. I'm so sorry. Yeah, so we used to slap these pictures. So I'll make sure I post a picture to slap on Google Classroom. Just don't slap your screen and break your computer. Imagine that. All 54 of you slap your computers and break it. It's all my fault. Nobody can take the exam. No, no. I can't imagine explaining that to the college board. That would be bad. That's funny, Taylor. Taylor, you're a lot funnier than I am. There's a wasp in the bush outside. I'm just watching it to make sure it's okay. I don't want it to come in the house. I'm just waiting for Brienne to come out and tell me to shut up. Seagull noise. My dogs listen to it too. Oh, my dog liked it too. Wow. So I'm a dog whisperer. We didn't know this, but I'm a dog whisperer. Fantastic. Some hybrid of what we normally do. I usually give the class like 10 options. You know, just like kind of a watered down version of one of those options. I think you guys will still end up having a choice, Taylor. I always want choice to factor into the final project. I want it to be like important, meaningful to you. So something like that. And you guys already heard that there's not going to be any finals, which is part of the reason why or it's usually that takes the place of a final, but it can also just be something we work on for the rest of the year as well. No, there's no finals anymore, Tim, but I can still give you a final project. Again, it won't be nearly as complex as what I normally give students, given the restraints in quarantine, but we'll still do something. And I also want you to remember, most of you will be going from AP World History to US 1 Honors next year with Mr. Felice. So it might be a good idea for you to perhaps reach out to him, see if there's going to be a summer assignment. His email is cfelice@hazlitt.org. I mean, don't worry about that stuff today. That stuff you can do at the end of May, anytime in June, or anything along those lines. But certainly something to be thinking about next year. All right, guys. I'm going to go for a run right now. Before I leave, does anybody else have anything they want to say? Any questions, comments, concerns, anything along those lines? Thank you, Tim. Battle of the Timothys. King Khan. You're welcome, Emily. Love the positivity, Taylor. Thank you very much. Good luck, Aiden. Thanks, Patrick. Thank you, Alexis. You guys are going to do great. And then when the exam's over, I'm going to give you some time to just decompress, do your own thing, you know? Thanks, Stephanie. Thanks, everybody. Love the positivity. You guys are fantastic. I love you guys. I miss you so much. I really do. I'm going to give you guys roughly an hour after the exam, and then I'm going to post a YouTube Live link, and then we just get to go in and talk about it. Good luck, everybody. Be confident. You have been given the skills. You have been given the content. You have been given all of the confidence in the world. You're all super, super capable students. Every single one of you. I mean that. Best of luck. You can do this. I'll see you on the other side. Bye, guys.